men's fraternity is real, their first core value is reject passivity. Now, you usually don't label a core value in sort of a negative sense, but it's just so prevalent in our society, and you see it time and time again. Every commercial we watch, maybe I'll cut a break and I'll say 95% of the commercials that we watch, men are wusses or idiots. I just saw last night the one where the guy comes and says, honey, I got us the plan and I got us all the phones, the family plan, and he's this real wussy guy. It's just disgusting how wussy he is. Yeah, I should have married somebody else. Well, I got him for free, and he's like passing instead of getting mad or anything. He's just this wuss. And then it could be the next commercial where the guy's, oh, you guys drink beer, watch football, yeah! So no wonder we're not thinking that. And then you come to the church, and there's no charge. Come here, guys, be really nice. Sit down. Don't cuss, don't swear. Just be nice. Okay? That's not really what I want to do. So now I get out into the world, and I want to do something. I go in the business world. I want to advance. I want to achieve. I want to accomplish something. I want to go out and shoot something if it was Mr. Matt. I want to go reel in the marlin or go in the fishing stream and catch something and shoot a deer and shoot an elk and go out with my, I don't know if you ever saw, the Reicherts have a rite of passage for the men in their family. And they came up with, the four brothers came up with this list of things that every male in the Reichert clan should do. One of them on there is go out and kill an elk. Go hunting. You know, they got camping. They got physical activities. They've got things about spiritual stuff. And they just got this whole list of a rite of passage to manhood. And those are cool things. Some of our manly camp is just designed like that. Get their fathers with their sons and be doing manly things. So all this is involved with community. And I know one of these community building practices is how to be friends. Affirming one another's strengths, abilities, and gifts. How many times do we see other guys or other people, and it could be other people, but other guys, and just give them a word of affirmation and say, you know what, you're really gifted at that. You know? And I just want to say to, you know, Ed, I appreciate Ed. I probably don't tell him enough that he's just this consistent guy. He's here every week. He's here every week more than any of us, I think, out of the leadership team that we have. Ed's the one that's most consistent. Either some of us are on the road or we got other stuff coming up, but Ed's the man being here every week. So I appreciate that. And there was another one, affirming one another's equal importance. I remember when Jeff and I went to Armenia and we went to this missions conference, this guy named Lazarus, he is connected with some of the top ministry leaders in the world. Adrian Rogers' son was there, and we get to go into this green room. I don't know if it was the green room or whatever room it was. The green room where all the leading speakers at this conference were coming, and he invites Jeff and I there. I don't even know what Lazarus, he just gave us this status that we're looking at each other and said, you know, why is he inviting us here? We're just little scumbuckets here. We don't know what's going on. We're not some leaders in the evangelistic realm that we deserve to be here. And Lazarus just gave us this equal importance because he saw something in us to advance the kingdom of heaven, I think. And so he gave us that status that we really didn't deserve. And when we're in the kingdom, it's a cool thing. Affirming another one of these is affirming one another through visible affection. This is a cool one. This is an interesting one because I would like to get into the fancy words exegesis and hermeneutics. Exegesis is then and there, and the hermeneutic is how does it apply here and now. So when we read the Bible, we look at that and say, what was that author thinking when he wrote this? And who was he writing it to? When was he writing it? What kind of circumstances were occurring that he wrote this? And then the hermeneutic would be, I take all that information, and some of it I can't use for today because it was for back then, but I apply it to today, and that's what we do our biblical interpretation. So the question for us is, how do we greet one another with a holy kiss? Italian thing and, you know, give the old kiss on the cheeks? Do they, I know some families, I know Mr. Matt said he would kiss his, I think he kissed his dad on the lips, or some family, they were just, boom, that's what they do. And so that's their family culture. I know when I was in Taiwan, I walked with a friend, we walked through the streets, so he was showing me around Taipei, and he grabs my arm, and we're walking arm in arm. And I'm not real edgy that way. Like, I'll kind of go with the flow before I react. And some Americans would get very upset with any hands-on thing. We're not a touchy society. We like to keep our distance. And so our distance is at least 1.5 feet, more like 3 when we talk. I don't know if you ever saw the Seinfeld episode where they talk about this one guy. Oh, he's a close talker. And this guy would constantly be in people's face and just, and I remember I went with Jack Hoy, who helped in our missions efforts in the church in way back a number of years ago. And so I got invited to go with him to Thailand and to India. And so here Jack was hard of hearing, so he finds this Thai woman, and I forget, she was in ministry or whatever, and we're at the airport, and he's stepping close, and he's talking to her, and he's doing it mainly because he can't hear, so he needs to hear her, but she literally backed up 20 feet. He started the conversation over here, and he's just close talking to her, and she's like, yeah, yeah, she's backing up. So we have that kind of thing, and how do we interpret that in our society of men? How do we do that holy kiss? Well, I don't think we're too separated from hugging each other. We kind of do that, give each other a hug, a pat, that kind of thing. We're closer in our society. So that's the kind of thing, the way we express community is the handshake. And usually the handshake, the comfortable handshake for men and hug is you grab the hand and you put it between you so that you're not really, you know, getting a little too close. Like, keep a little bit of distance there. Keep that going there. Don't want to go too close. But I know coming from the charismatic church, there were a lot of guys who would come up and just give you, they'd have to hug you for everything. Okay? Go, okay, yeah, I had enough of this hug. And I don't even know you. I'm not going to hug you. Okay? I'm not going to give you a hug because I don't even know you. So, but that's our culture. Other cultures, if you don't give the hug, it's considered offensive. So you got to be thinking where you're at, what you're doing. Another part of this about community is how to be a family. Sharing one another's space, goods, and time. I know when, it's been probably 3 or 4 years now, when we were running 2 groups, we would run a group on Wednesday morning. We had one Friday morning, and then another group on Saturday morning to give our guys in the church more opportunities to get here, because it was more conducive for them to come on weekday morning. And I would have that at 6:30. So 6:30, for me, since my drive is 45 minutes, that was really like, to me, if I'm getting up before 5 o'clock, it's kind of like I'm working the night shift. 5 o'clock is kind of that cutoff for me mentally. If I have to get up at 4:30, that's just something about the 4:30 hour. And either I can't get to sleep early enough to get a good night's sleep. So here, I'm talking and everything, and Terry Chambers goes, why don't you just stay over at my house? I'm 5 minutes away from the church. I'm like, you know how you go and just, I don't know if I want to stay at somebody's house. I don't want to impose upon them. But no, he has, I don't know if you've been to Terry Chambers' home. Anybody ever been to Terry Chambers' home? He has like a whole separate house. Okay? As a matter of fact, he built onto his house, the original house, and it used to be a wagon stop. It was like a stop in the 1800s or something, this original house. So it's kind of cool. But he rebuilt it. But there's actually a separate wing of his home. So it's like, I would have my own little separate wing. And so he'd, yeah, come on over. So that's what I would do. Every Tuesday night, I would go up, get to the Chambers house about 10 o'clock, would sit there and watch whatever program was from 10 to 11. Then I would go to bed, just get up and go. And that was like, I have open house. So if I need to get here early in the morning for the next morning, I call up the Chambers and say, hey, Tara, is there room at the inn? Sure, come on in. And that's one thing about the Chambers. They have done well for themselves, but they just give it. They use their home for gatherings because it's big enough to begin with, but they just are so giving of their goods and the things that they have that that's the way it ought to be. That's the kingdom of heaven. That's a cool thing. And sharing one another's needs and problems. And hopefully when we get in our group here, guys, you feel comfortable enough to be able to share some things. And I've had some guys share some personal stuff with me, and I'm glad they have, because they need to get it off their chest. They need to talk to somebody about it. So when we have stuff like that, we need to share. You can't share with everybody, but you find someone you can trust and build rapport with. And if you don't have anybody to do that with, and sometimes, guys, we get isolated on an island, and we're kind of self-sufficient and just pull up our bootstraps and hold it all in, but we're not going to grow. You can go to your deathbed that way, but you're never going to grow without exposing some of those things. You might think you're the worst guzz bucket in the world because of something that you did, but trust me, we've all thought about it, or some of us have done some of that at some point in our lives. All right? And so when you share with one another and you don't think you're the only one that's done that, it's such a relief. Now we can start the healing process.